All right. I have been quenched. Hi. We need to think about who we're searching, right? Search someone else. Whomst else? Remember when he did the pressing? Is it Sholmes we're supposed to search? I think it's Sholmes we want to search. I think it is. I think we had that thing with him pressing it in. That was a element that still hasn't come back yet. Search someone else, please. Yes, the defense formally demands the search be conducted.
Well,
Don't say you weren't warned. But your typical Nipponese stubbornness may well land you in hot water this time. Perhaps the lesson will do you some good. Fair enough. I've got nothing to hide.
very well then. Bailiff, conduct a search of the inspector's personal...
No. Stop. The defense demands a search, but not of Inspector Gregson.
What?
Now what's all this? I'm the one you're accusing, ain't I? I thought you wanted to search me. No, Inspector. Not you. Somebody else. What's the meaning of all this, eh? Lost it at last, have you, sunshine? Court shouldn't have put up with this nonsense. You're being completely irrational. Be quiet, all of you. Hello? Wait, who? Oh, hi. Bruno's doing what you all told him to do, and having the courage of his convictions. So you should respect that and listen to what he has to say in good faith. Because that's the British way.
Oh, she's appealing to my patriotism. She's good. Well said, young lady. Indeed, this court is in awe of the defense counsel's conviction, and eagerly awaits his next words.
You what? Now don't be so hasty, my lord. If I'm not mistaken about things I've seen in court today, I'm fairly sure I know who has that disc at the moment. There's only one person it can be.
Counsel, of whom do you request...
Okay. I thought it would be Hurley. Let's see. We'll see.
Take that!
My lord! Okay, that's clearly not it.
Good grief, what possible relation could exist between the...
You can tell it's nothing because it's very unspecific. It would seem my Nipponese friend does not understand the gravity of requesting such a search. Okay, well, let's not do that then. We were close. I thought it was that. Right? I thought we'd get the copy, but I guess not. Who could have it? Huh?
Take that!
No. Wait. Mr. Ashley Graydon, my lord, the defense demands that he be searched at once.
Very well. I presume you will not protest, Mr. Graydon?
Au contraire. I don't think... Was this the right one? And so a brief body search was carried out by the court bailiff. A few short minutes later, it was revealed that Mr. Graydon had nothing unusual on his person at all. Yeah.
Well, counsel?
If I'm not mistaken about things I've seen in court today, I'm fairly certain I know who has that disc at the moment. There's only one person it can be. Wait. Wait a minute. Wait. I thought maybe it was in the hat that he threw at us, but we can't even select ourselves. Right? I thought that'd be what it is. Okay. No. Why would you? You're dead. You were not given it? Were you?
Take that!
No. No. when he grabbed him by the neck. Oh my god.
Take that!
Of my lord, Mr. Nash Skulkin.
Well, I never.
Blimey. Me? Him?
Very well then, bailiff. Restrain the witness and conduct a thorough search of his personal effects.
Please, my lord.
Inspector.
Scotland Yard has to object to this search.
Objection!
Unfortunately for you, Inspector, your objections carry no weight here. In this courtroom, only the prosecution and the defense have the authority to object. But Lord Van Zeeks, I have no idea what forces are in play that might influence your actions. But personally, I have no intention of obstructing the course of the trial.
Bailiff, carry out the search.
Now, hold on a mo. I don't know nothing about no disc. Oh, cut it out. Ah, here, my lord. In the witness's pocket, I found this.
Good lord, that's...
Another music box disc. I don't know nothing about it. Nothing. That is the second music box disc left behind by Magnus McGilded. Is it not, Inspector Gregson?
Order! Order! Mr. Skulkin, what do you have to say for yourself?
Gordon Bennett. Just Gordon Flamin' Bennett. I swear I didn't know nothing about that disc, honest to God.
Counsel, would you please explain what exactly is going on here? The alleged deal that was struck was between this witness by this detective, no?
Without question, my lord.
Then, for pity's sake, why on earth was that man in possession of the disc that the inspector traded for information?
Inspector Grayson is a shrewd, calculating man who rarely loses his composure. But at one particular point in this trial, he exhibited some unusual behavior for a brief moment.
I don't recall. What unusual behavior?
You know when he was literally assaulting him?
Oh, right. That happens more often than you think in my courtroom.
It was, yes, during my cross-examination of Mr. Graydon. Tell me, Mr. Graydon, when you left the pawnbrokery that night, was it by any chance with the second disc in your jacket pocket? I admitted nothing of the sort. Yeah, this here, he was putting it into his pocket there. While Mr. Graydon answered my questions, the inspector appeared to have grabbed Nash Skulkins by his coat and was shaking him violently. Yeah, I didn't know. I thought me noggin was gonna fall clean off, I did. I was wishing I'd been born as me brother, I was. And what exactly happened to make the detective attack you like that? I got a clue. He just suddenly turned and grabbed me whistle like he was starting to shake me. Why in the blazes did you mention the third gun when you're down at the station? That's what he said. Yelled it right down my ear, all he did. My head's still throbbing now. The way the detective behaved then was extremely out of character. But looking back now, must have been then that he did it. That was the opportunity Inspector Grayson created for himself to hide the disc.
Well, bless my wig. He hid it.
You...
But I'm afraid I fail to comprehend the motive here. If the detective had acquired the disc he was after, why on earth would he then proceed to hide it in another man's pocket? This is a court of law. He could have submitted the item as evidence.
It would appear, my lord, that the inspector was not at liberty to do that.
Why ever not?
As the man himself revealed earlier, his current assignment has some special conditions. My orders were, recover the medium used to convey secrets leaked from the ministry, and do it on the QT, strictly hush-hush.
Hush, hush. top secret assignment, is it?
As far as we're aware, the information stolen comes from confidential government communications. It would seem that if information were to be revealed in court as evidence, it would be problematic. Does that sum up the situation, Inspector? I'm operating under direct orders from the Ministry. I'm afraid I'm not at a liberty to answer that question. So, realizing there was a chance you may be searched here in court, you took the steps to hide the disc you had acquired from the witness.
Oh, does this mean?
You only pretended to attack Mr. Skulkin in order to get close enough to him to slip the second disc into his pocket.
So it was all a pretense? Well now, Inspector Gregson, and you, Mr. Graydon, are you prepared to admit to the accusation made against you of this alleged deal?
Oh, is this it? Admit to it. Yours truly? Please, of course not. Mr. Graydon. Clearly our Eastern visitor has an uncommonly active imagination. However, there's no proof that I passed the disc to the inspector.
Objection.
But then, how do you explain the reason why you knew about the peephole? I'm under no obligation to explain. What? You are? You're in court, asshole! Yes, I lied in my testimony. That I admit, so sentence me accordingly. But that is all I admit. Murder, leaking government secrets, striking a deal with a detective. All of this is that young Eastern man's fancy. I have no idea what any of that is all about. You what? This guy's so slimy. Well, what about you then, Inspector Gregson? Do you admit to making a deal with Mr. Graydon in order to acquire the disc? Ladies and gents of the jury, as a Scotland Yard inspector, I will declare this and nothing more. I'm acting in the best interests of the country. Whatever I've done, it's been in the name of justice. So, as members of the public of this fine country, I'd like to think that justice will be your guiding light when you're making your decisions. I am not British. I do not care.
That is quite a quandary indeed. Rarely have I encountered such extraordinary tumultuousness in the concluding of a trial. Nevertheless, in the absence of any further evidence to be presented, I believe it is time that we put the matter to the jury for their final leanings.
Well now, as a fellow serving the Queen and country, I must say I sympathize with the old inspector. Yes, he's a dependable man, I'm quite sure. In service, one becomes a good judge of character. Even crossing your eyes doesn't help when it comes to looking at this case. It's all blurred to me. Well, as a fellow professional, I'd like to put my faith in the detective, really. Graydon is highly skilled operator, stop. Currently in presence of idol, stop. Detective has very much trust in his eyes. More than this, I cannot say. I don't believe it. These 6 jurors they're gonna believe Gregson. And if they declare the decision now... Is Jeannie gonna be found guilty? If I don't manage to produce some definitive evidence right now, then we're gonna lose. Either some proof that Graydon killed Mr. Winniebank, or stole those government secrets, or some evidence to force Gregson into admitting that he struck a deal with the witness.
Well then, counsel, I think it's time I imposed on the jurors to declare their final decisions, no? That is, unless you have some compelling evidence you have thus not far presented to the court. If I let the judge call on the jurors to announce their leanings, Gina will be found guilty. So there's no choice then, Runo. You have to throw some more evidence at them. This is it now. It all comes down to this. Who do I present evidence against, Gregson or Graydon? Gregson or Graydon, what do I do? What do I do? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Posited 2 days before the black overcoat. We still have these, right? The blood of Mr. Mason.
Oh, frick. Compelling evidence has not been presented. I have to throw evidence. Either some proof that Graydon killed Mr. Windybank, or stole government secrets, or some evidence to force Gregson into admitting that he struck a deal with the witness. Anything about striking a deal. Redemption, £1. Long unpublished story that has nothing to do with what we're doing. Surprise fourth witness. Contains secrets of the government's things. Is it the blood? We got, again, purple. But we can't use that in court. This is a tough one. I'm going to say we're going to go after... Okay, let's just try that. Let's go Graydon first. Mr. Graydon, there is one final piece of evidence I would like you to see. You misguided fool. Whatever you intend to show me now, you'll be wasting your time. I have nothing left to lose. I assure you, I will admit to nothing. It's my last chance. It looks like I'm going to have to force his hand here. One final piece of evidence to get him to admit to the deal he clearly struck on the stand. Deal he struck on the stand. Something to do with this, maybe? Ministry mole communications being intercepted, that's the question. No. Lord Strongheart was talking about... So this is about him saying that we definitely had a deal. Right? Oh, it's the box. They wouldn't overlook the box being moved, right?
Take that!
Was that Mr. Oh, wow, okay, I got it. Wow, nice. Was that Mr. McGillicuddy's peculiar music box council?
Yes, with a disc already in place ready to play. I think perhaps now would be a good time to listen to the sound produced by the music box again. Only this time, with the second disc we've just discovered set in place as well.
Oh, goodness! This disc council?
No, wait, I can't let you do that. Why not? Because it's got nothing to do with this case, that's why. Not true, Inspector. The defense has already proposed that the sounds heard by the court earlier from this music box were part of a Morse code message. We know that Morse code comprised of two distinct tones. The defense believes the second disc contains a second tone needed to complete the message. And now we have a chance to confirm that theory. For crying out loud, Sunshine, we're talking about state secrets here. If you go letting the whole courtroom hear confidential information like that, it's treason. Then do you admit the charge? That in order to protect those state secrets, you engaged in unlawful dealings with the witness? You're mad. If you let that secret information out into the public domain, you'll be making an enemy of the entire British government, you idiot! Let's not forget, Inspector, that you, a Scotland Yard officer, leak confidential case details to a witness. That you continue to lie to the court, and all because by fair means or foul, you're determined to do your duty. Well, by fair means or by foul, I'm prepared to do mine. Don't you dare. I will stop at nothing to protect my client. I don't care who I make an enemy of. That's pretty cool, actually. He's in! My lord, if you please. The court must hear the sounds made by that music box. Come on, Van Zeeks, for Pete's sake, stop him!
Objection!
Time for me to be slutty. Inspector, you should know my methods by now. I'm a prosecutor. I'm no Scotland Yard puppet. I love when you get to work with the prosecutor. It's so good. In this courtroom, my duty is to the law, so let me propose a toast to uncovering the truth by fair means or foul.
No! Very well, the defense stands here, and that of the prosecution has been made very clear, I feel. Therefore, in accordance with the defense's request, the court will now listen to this music box is set in operation once more. This time, with the second disc in place, and both discs playing simultaneously.
Here we go. Oh, listen to that. It's unmistakable now. It's Morse code. All right, I admit it. Whatever you want. But for the love of God, shut that bloomin' box up. Again, I wonder if you could actually translate that. Let me ask you again then, Inspector Gregson. Did you, or did you not, strike a deal with the witness next to you in the stand, Mr. Ashley Graydon?
Specifically, did you furnish the witness with confidential case details in exchange for this music box disc? Did you reveal the existence of the peephole in the pawnbroker's storeroom door, Inspector?
I did. Ugh. Stop. What are you doing, man? It's all exactly like the young Eastern lawyer said. When the trial resumed after the recess and we were stood here in the stand together, well, that's when he approached me with the deal. Shut up, you imbecile! Shut up! Psst. You there. You're the detective who turned up at the pawnbroker the other day, aren't you? I may have something you're looking for, Inspector, with me at this very moment. So how about a trade? I suggest you accept. More information that may make certain individuals uncomfortable will soon become very public indeed. I couldn't let that information become public knowledge, not under any circumstances. So I accepted the man's proposal and told him the details about the case that should have put him in the clear. The peephole in the storeroom door, and the bloodstains on the overcoat. By giving false testimony, this witness intended to have the defendant wrongly accused of murder. Inspector, you knew that. Yet you still revealed those details to facilitate the witness's perjury. I did. And then it turned out the peephole had only been made that night after the incident took place. Scotland Yard wasn't aware of that, if I'm perfectly honest. Well, Mr. Graydon, what do you have to say for yourself? There's nothing and no one left for you to hide behind. You struck a deal with the inspector in order to escape conviction of a very serious crime. Namely this. You are the third intruder who broke into the pawnbroker on the night in question, and you perpetrated the murder of the proprietor, Mr. Pop Windybank. You broke the stick. Traitor! Oh my god! Guys? Did you just kill him?
Bailiff! Bailiff, restrain that man! At once!
Did they just kill him? That's it then. It's all over. Don't give me these ellipses. Are you gonna hit me with the or is it? I despised my life growing up. Those slums are such vile places. I was cursed from birth, born into poverty, the son of a penniless artisan. My parents did nothing but quarrel all day long. What little money they had was never spent on me. You're not giving me a sob story. So I set about studying to better myself, to one day escape from that hellhole.
And you eventually became a communications officer. I admire your determination.
But then you decided to try to sell government secrets? Why? Isn't it obvious? Because I wanted money. Even now, years later, the nightmares of my life in the slums wake me in the small hours. I wanted to drown them out, with more money than anyone who lived in that squalor could ever imagine. Then one day I met him. Mr. Magnus McGilded. You're a fiend for with a quart talent, so you are. I've money to throw your way if you're interested. All you need do is go along with me little plan now. I was to steal the ministry's telegraphic message logs, and McGilded would buy them for a handsome sum. As I was responsible for the inspections of the ministry's communications office, it was a simple enough task. The lure of the devil's offerings. How easy it is to succumb.
But you must surely have realized the seriousness of the crime you were committing.
And for that reason, I took great lengths to ensure my actions were untraceable by using the music box. My father was a brickmaker, though my mother divorced him when I was still a child. Yes, Mr. Mason Milverton. That's right. He was very skilled with his hands, and he'd once been a music box maker's apprentice. I imagined his skills would be sufficient to create a machine that could generate Morse code, so I sought out my father again to employ his services. It was the first time I'd seen him since I left the slums 10 years ago. Look at you, Ashley. What a fine gent you've become, eh? He was a different man to the one in my memory. A thin, frail old man. But poverty had never broken him, never corrupted him like it did me. So I was sure that he wouldn't help me if I told him the real reason. So I made up a story. I've got some work for you, Father. I need some music box discs made. Music box discs, eh? A musician friend of mine has written some music he wants to... Oh, sorry. A musician friend of mine has some music he wants to sell to the public. I brought the score with me. There are two, actually. I'd be delighted, son. It's been 20 years since I did any work like this, though. Fetch me my tools, would you? They're in the loft. That's how I had them make the two discs. Thereby splitting the information in two. You were taking considerable precautions indeed. It was to protect myself as much as anything. It meant that I could deal with McGilded in two separate transactions. The first involved the first of the two discs and the music box for playing them. I exchanged them with McGilded for 10 guineas. Then, on receipt of the second disc, he would pay me 1,000 guineas. So, what happened on the omnibus 2 months ago? Was the second part of a deal? The exchange of the second disc? Yes. I'd sold the man information that way a number of times already, but it seems he became reluctant to part with his money.
But that doesn't quite make sense, Mr. Graydon. For why was it on that omnibus 2 months ago your father, Mr. Milverton, was the one dealing with Mr. McGilded and not yourself?
When I received the 1,000 guineas after my first completed dealings with McGilded, I decided to give 200 to my father for his troubles. But my father realized something was amiss. In time, he worked out that I must be involved in something dubious. And when he did, he said to me, "Next time there's an exchange, you'll let your old man do it. Understand? Otherwise, I won't take your money anymore." Oh, this is mega sad now. That was my father's way of dealing with it, I suppose. Climb into the omnibus, hand over the second disc, and take the money from McGilded, that's it. He had no idea what was actually on the discs I'd ask him to make. He never knew. Just like I'll never know why everything went so horribly wrong that night. All I know is that the disc was taken from him, and he never returned home. It was only then that I found out what sort of a monster McGilded really was. So after 10 years of not once uttering it, I swore in my father's name. To exact revenge. Revenge? As anyone with even the remotest knowledge of the man would no doubt be able to imagine, McGilded brought all his wealth and influence to bear in the most despicable of ways. To crush any semblance of justice in his trial. The crime scene was tampered with, evidence was fixed, and witnesses were bribed. That trial 2 months ago was a farce from start to finish. My feet had barely touched British soil back then, and I walked into that hornet's nest, completely unaware of the sinister background to it all. I had made plenty of money out of my dealings with McGilded by then, so I spared nothing in my arrangements 2 months ago. I knew exactly who to hire. If you're willing to pay the price, there are people in the city willing to do anything you ask. McGilded himself had shown me that. Are you saying that... I think you have the picture now. After he twisted everything to his favor in the courtroom to ensure that he walked free, I took matters in my own hands and delivered that justice the monster deserved. That tragic accident following the trial here 2 months ago was planned and executed by yours truly. McGilded's death that day was caused by this man. Everything is ready, sir, if you'd like to follow me into the courtroom. Oh, what's this, officer? 'Tis sooner than I was led to believe. I hope it's not inconvenient, sir. There are some changes to the schedule. Well, I must be making tracks now. 'Tis time for the inspection. They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I asked if I could be present for it myself. So that policeman who came to tell McGilded he could examine the omnibus again. That's right. An imposter among us. Hired by me. McGilded used his wealth to manipulate the trial. He paid people to adulterate the omnibus with all manner of false evidence. He threatened witnesses to lie in their testimony. So I gave the man a taste of his own medicine. Once the omnibus was doused in paraffin, one of my sham policemen ushered McGilded inside and sent him on a one-way journey to hell. An eye for an eye. That's how I avenged my father's death.
Oh, spine-chilling account indeed. So, you're super guilty, right?
But that wasn't the end of it for me. There was a loose end, you see. Loose end? Yes, I should think it's obvious. The second disc, which my father had taken into exchange with McGilded.
Oh, yes. There was indeed no mention of it in the man's trial 2 months ago. Clearly because it had been removed from the scene of the crime.
When I realized it was missing, I remembered something. Something from the first time I dealt with McGilded. This is the first of the 2 discs in the music box. You need to play them. Well, look at that now. What an ingenious little invention. So then, as promised, 10 guineas for you, young man. What's this? Windybank's pawnbrokery. Aye, 'tis a pawnbroker's ticket, so it is. You can use it to redeem an article I've deposited there for you. There's no need to give a name, just hand over the ticket and tell the fiend the watchword. I put a jewel in pawn for you. It'll fetch a good 10 guineas if you sell it, so it will. I've never heard of a pawnbroker being used in quite that way before. Oh, have you not, Mr. Graydon? London's pawnbrokeries are very useful places, you know. Each one is like an extremely secure vault. So I knew that if he'd taken the steps to hide the disc, it'd be in that pawnbrokery somewhere. And on the night he killed my father, he must have entrusted the ticket to someone. Yes, to Gina. I remember now that when we first met you at Windybanks that afternoon 2 days ago, you had a description of Miss Lestrade written down. How did you know who you were looking for? From the trial, that pickpocket's testimony was clearly peculiar. Anyone could see that. I realized immediately she was another one of McGilded's pawns, and he must have threatened her somehow. I was fairly convinced it would be her who had the ticket, so I started to make some inquiries. I had a strong suspicion that girl would come out of the woodwork on the redemption deadline. He was absolutely right. And yes, sure enough, she did. All I needed to do was wait until the girl went to Windybanks to redeem the articles. But unfortunately, she redeemed only McGilded's overcoat, and the one disc that was in its pocket. The all-important music box with the second disc inside was missing, because it had already been forfeited 2 days earlier. But I was unaware of that fact. Had I not been, I could have avoided my nighttime excursion. Meanwhile, as our investigation into the stolen government secrets was progressing, we picked up on the fact that McGilded was involved. Inspector, you've recovered fast. You didn't die. My orders were to recover the stolen information as quickly as possible. We started gathering the fellow's possessions and examining whatever we could lay our hands on. We had a full-scale investigation going on at the yard, but we had to keep as quiet as we could. Then, when the inspector here took the disc from me in the pawnbrokery that day, I became nervous. I was sure the music box and the second disc were still there in the shop somewhere, so I knew it was a race against time. I had to find those articles before the police did. So that's what prompted you to break into the place that same night. With the help from your old friends, the Skulkin brothers. What happened that night in the pawnbrokery, I can only describe as a nightmare. While Nash and Ringo were searching the counter, I'd located the music box I'd sold to McGilded on the shelves of forfeited articles. And the second disc was inside. Yes, I slipped it into my pocket with a very deep sigh of relief. But then, something entirely unexpected happened. Oh, what are you doing in my shop? Bang! A gunshot rang out in the shop, and I felt a sharp pain in my left arm. The broker fired his gun, and the bullet pierced your limb. Yes, exactly. But unfortunately, I decided to bring my own gun with me that night, just in case. Well, here it is. He's just explaining it. Before I knew what was happening, I'd fired back. The man had already turned to flee. I hadn't intended to fire in his direction, much less kill him, but unfortunately for both of us, the bullet hit home. I struck him in the middle of his back as he fled through the storeroom door for refuge.
A sorry tale.
It all took place in the blink of an eye. I don't imagine Nash and Ringo even realized what had happened at first. I was terrified, so I fled. And that's the whole story. That's everything that happened at Windybanks on that wretched night. Yeah, when you got these fades to white, that's how you know things are done. The game is over. No breakdown, just one sad, sad man. Duh! Guilty, I still say. Little mouse friend tell me to say guilty still. Earlier, you called McGilded a monster. A man who used his wealth and influence to distort the facts and escape justice for the crime of murder. What tragic irony. For what you have done is exactly the same. Yeah, you just became what you hated the most. You've become the very monster you saw and despised so deeply in McGilded. Yes, I think I have.
Well, this has been A long and exhausting trial. However, it would seem that at last we have arrived at the truth. Inspector Gregson, what of Ashley Graydon?
He's been restrained, my lord, and is being escorted to the yard. He'll be charged with the murder of Mr. Windbank and the stealing of government secrets.
Very good. And you, Inspector? Regrettably, you will have to face charges yourself.
Yes, my lord, of course. It transpires that you are complicit in helping a criminal escape justice. The fact remains whether or not you were doing so in the line of duty. The crime is a serious one, Inspector, and inexcusable.
Now to the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade.
Yeah?
It is time for the final adjudication. Is the jury ready, Mr. Foreman?
Yes, sir. Garrideb Squadron standing by, sir. This is really it now. Last push, the final call, the finishing whistle. My men are ready to deliver their final verdicts. I've completely forgotten what voice he had at the beginning.
Thank you, Mr. Foreman.
He's not spoken enough for it to ever be a thing to remind myself about.
Very well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You will now declare your final decision to the court.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
He's just there because everyone else said the same thing. All the way over. That's the stuff. I'm off the hook. Finally, Bruno, you finally managed to do it. Finally is the word. I wasn't really sure if we'd come out on top for a while there. Susie was right. You're the best lawyer in the world.
Mr. Strad, I'm not finished with you yet.
What are you looking at me like that for?
Before you start enjoying your freedom, some other crimes to consider, 2 months ago, in my courtroom no less, you gave false testimony, did you not? And in relation to the trial today, not only did you unlawfully enter Windybanks' pawnbrokery, you also attempted to abscond with Mr. McGilden's property, it seems.
I never done nothing of the sort. Of course not. It's not like you were gleefully wearing McGilden's coat in your cell yesterday or anything. Just when I was getting excited about throwing a party for Ginny this evening.
And turning our attention to the defense, determining that, when played together, the music box disc contained a message in Morse code was, well, it was certainly a most unexpected revelation, counsel.
Quite so, my lord. The prosecution was caught entirely off guard. In fact, I think we should applaud my learned friend's courage here today. I propose a toast to demanding that government secrets be disseminated before the entire courtroom. Oh, very sorry about that. It was the only way I could get Inspector Gregson to admit to what he'd done, so... If I may say something on that point, who's this? Isn't that... Oh, it's, about the sounds produced by the music box before. I do wonder if that was really Morse code at all. What? What are you saying, madam? Oh, well, it's just that I'm really rather fanatical when it comes to Morse code, you see. So much so that the whole world seems to be covered in dots and dashes to me, in fact.
Oh, goodness, madam. At an unhealthy level of obsession, one feels you'll never be married.
But I must say that, in my opinion, the sounds produced by those two discs were nothing more than that. A meaningless series of two different notes. What? What? Can that really be? It wasn't Morse code after all? My lord, the defense would like to listen to the box again. Are you off your nut? How many times do I have to tell you those discs contain ministerial secrets, Sunshine? This courtroom is not an appropriate forum to discuss the nature of government communications. We know McGilden conspired to trade national secrets with our enemies. Secrets acquired from Mr. Graydon. Now that the man has admitted to his crimes, we have no need to pursue the matter further. But it's really going to bother me.
Miss Lestrade?
Yeah, my lord?
That which you have seen today here in this courtroom has been extremely disturbing.
Falsified evidence, intimidation, perjury, a grim catalogue of depravity.
but appalling experience to befall any child.
Come on, it ain't nothing I don't see in the most days in the back slums.
I beg your pardon?
If you're weak, you pay for it. That's just how life goes. Gina. But look, I reckon I worked something out today. The world ain't fair, but if you want it to change, you've got to start at home. You got to change how you are yourself. Is she trying to worm her way into no sentence?
Well, that's a very laudable lesson, I would say. I eagerly look forward to the born-again Miss Lestrade never gracing my courtroom with her presence again. Now, with regard to the murder of Mr. Pop Windybank, proprietor of a pawnbroking business on Baker Street, I hereby declare the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, not guilty.
That was so long by the end. But you know what? I feel like that was a long trial, but it didn't feel like one of the longest ones. Don't do that in court. Don't do that in court. That's a terrible idea.
Please don't do that. I will actually charge you with something if you do that again. Please don't.
There's been ones that felt like they went on longer. That was a good length. It felt the perfect amount.
That is all. Court is adjourned.
I might actually end up splitting this into 2 videos because we still have all of the end of game 1, right? Why are you still here? Why are we still here? Why do you have your coat back on? What's going on? On a personal note, I must say you've surprised me, my Far Eastern friend. Oh! Despite being a Nipponese, you saw through the pretense to the malice that festered within that Englishman, and at the same time saw through the grime to the surprising heart of your English client. You have a curious talent for judging character, especially considering our very different cultures. So are you, like, just racist, or... I don't think there's anything curious about it. Whether we're from the Empire of Great Britain, or the Empire of Japan, we're all human beings. We're not so very different on the inside. There's a joke I could make here, and it would just get sad, so I'm not gonna go there. Like, I was gonna go through this whole joke of, like, well, unless you're... right? But I'm not. I'm not gonna go there. He's saying a good thing. You know, I took this case for one very simple reason. To lock swords with you once again here in the courtroom. You did. When I encountered you for the first time 2 months ago, it reminded me of toasting friendship and trust with another Nipponese, only to find my trust betrayed. Through you, I hope to look into the eyes of the man through you, I hope to look into the eyes of the man I once knew, and try to understand. You mentioned something similar earlier today, about total betrayal at the hands of the Japanese. What happened exactly? Well, you may ask, and one day, when the time comes, you will learn the answer, whether you like it or not. Alright, then I'll wait for that day if I must. Coming to be known as the Reaper of the Bailey in my retirement from service 5 years ago gives me cause to wonder if our meeting has some deeper purpose. So, farewell, my learned Nipponese fellow, until we meet again. So I can definitely see why some people complained when this game came out that it simply doesn't have a unlike I'd say if you play just Ace Attorney 1, right? Like if you just played the first Ace Attorney, you play the fourth Ace Attorney, you play any game of Ace Attorney, they all end in a very self-contained way where if the franchise would have ended there, it would have been okay. That's just how it is. It always ended in a way where it's very conclusive. This very much ends in a way where it's basically saying, yeah, there's still more story, right? There's still more that's going to happen. It's too lingering, which, I mean, it's fine in this collection, but if you were in Japan and you bought this game and played it, I remember there being complaints of people saying, like, this is greedy Capcom, and it's not a full game. Like, it's literally, they paid half a game for you, which isn't great. It's not. But, you know, now that we have this form, this is okay then, I think. Well, we'll see once it's all done. I think it's a pretty good package. Like, I felt like that was already, like, this felt like a great full game. We're only technically halfway through, you know? That said, I said there wouldn't be breaks between the games, but there will, if only because Pokemon's coming out, the final DLC, so. It's done. It's over at last. But where's Iris disappeared to? You're not Iris. Huh. Congratulations, Gina. I knew it all along. I knew that you were innocent. You're still like this, huh?
Well, you did what you said, Mr. Naruto. You believed in me, right to the end.
Yes, odd is your name. What's odd about it? I told you I had faith in you, didn't I? Also, I'm just Japanese. That's just a thing. Just the name thing's normal. Don't worry.
No one ever has before, see? Kept a promise, I mean, properly.
Well, that's awful.
I figured something out today. All me life, growing up in the slums, I've never trusted no one. But that's just because I've been scared of being stabbed in the back. I mean, the more you trust someone, the more it hurts when they let you down.
Yeah, I think I can understand that. After all, I had a taste of that in the trial 2 months ago. I chose to trust someone and paid for it. That betrayal left a big scar. You know though, Gina, I worked something out quite recently today. Trusting in someone else is really an exercise in learning to trust yourself. And when your gut tells you it's the right thing to do, and your trust is rewarded, there's no better feeling in the world. I think I have you to thank for reminding me of that valuable lesson.
Oh, well, if you say so. Don't make a fat lot of sense to me, though.
I'm trying to say that putting my faith in you, Gina, has been a real pleasure.
For crying out loud, pack it in! But I suppose I sort of feel the same way. I mean, sometimes trusting someone else is, well, you know, alright.
Thanks. This is the way I see it, Ryunosuke. A defense lawyer is only as good as his faith in his client. And that comes down to how much faith he has in himself. After this experience, I'm starting to feel like I understand what you mean. Kazuma, am I living up to your expectations? Am I turning out to be the lawyer you believed I could be? Pardon the interruption. Who's this? Hi. Okay, but what the deuce does a man have to do to be noticed around here, my dear fellow? Oh, that voice! It's too late for that voice now, Mr. Naruhodo. I've been standing here patiently in the corner of the room for an eternity. Aha, yes, it was me all along, I would have said when you finally noticed me. But you people with your incessant babbling...
Mr. Sholmes!
Oh, yes, it was me all along, you see. I'd assumed you'd be taken back to the hospital, to be honest. Indeed I was, but I managed to escape again. Oh. I happen to be aware of one or two foibles that the doctor was tending to me. I merely made my knowledge of them known to the man, and he happily issued me with a leave of absence. How very above board. But enough of my adventures. That was a fine victory, Mr. Naruhodo. Your tireless efforts justly rewarded, I feel. Congratulations on order. As a close friend, I tip my hat at you. Oh, thank you.
Some great detective you are. Great at being cold as ice, maybe.
Have I irked you in some way, Miss Lestrade?
Well, you've been having a snooze in your nice soft bed,
Some of us have been fighting for our lives here. Ah, well, that bullet did cause me to lose a substantial amount of blood, it's true. So I've indeed been feeling somewhat cold. Not perhaps cold as ice, but, well, have a feel. Could you take your hands off my neck, please, Mr. Sholmes? And in some way, I suppose. And congratulations on order for you too, Miss Lestrade. What's that supposed to mean? Why so half-hearted? Well, naturally, it isn't my intention to alarm you, but an acquittal in a trial with that particular prosecutor is perhaps a little precarious. Well done, Mr. Sholmes. Not alarming in the slightest. Oh, the raper, you mean? If anyone was found not guilty in a trial he's worked on winds up dead anyway? Is that it? The very point I was trying to make. It was exemplified by the fate of Mr. McGilded, in fact. Ah, but of course, I pay no attention to such irrational drivel myself. Yeah, well, it don't bother me. Oh, really? Of course not. The way I see it, the Reaper's a bit like him upstairs. Him upstairs? You mean like God? What? Yeah, him upstairs knows what's what, right? He knows what people are like on the inside. They won't have got the wrong end of the stick. There's some codes like that bog trotter will rotten to the core. At the end of the day, him upstairs makes sure they get what they deserve. I suppose that's one way of looking at it. Divine justice is one thing, though. The Reaper taking matters into his own hands and claiming lives is another. What? I ain't like the McGildeds of this world. So I ain't scared. I got principles, see? Can you imagine if Game 2 starts and she's dead? That would suck. A trait in you is whoa, let me try that again. A trait in you which is to be admired, Miss Lestrade. Oi, just give me a rest, alright? As I was saying, congratulations on order. The news of your acquittal are very welcome news to me indeed. Hoo-ha! Let me express my heartfelt congratulations, Gina. Well, every time he does that animation, it's the funniest thing. There you are, Hurley. How long have you been here? Honestly, I went to the main entrance especially to meet you there. Iris, my dear, I do apologize. But wait until I tell you what happened. This pair made utter fools of themselves. What happened? As you know, I have a penchant for disguise. I was hiding in this room just as a bailiff. But those dolts didn't notice my presence at all. They had no idea. Can you imagine, Iris? Would you credit it? I'm not sure, really. I beg your pardon. I'm sorry, Hurley, but you just don't have the weighty presence you seem to think you have. In fact, you really ought to be careful about that. It can land you in trouble one day. Well, be careful. Ouch. Anyway, it's such a shame. I was hoping to throw a party for Ginny tonight, but you won't be able to come, will you? Don't look like I'm going nowhere for a while. You had the judge's patter. I got stuff to make amends for, apparently. All them offenses. What was it again? Breaking and entering, taking the bog trotter stuff what was in the lug, blah blah blah. Yeah, I think you'll find that basically being a pickpocket is the main offense. But diving ain't an offense, it's a job, isn't it? I don't think so. Still, it's got me thinking all this. Maybe I should start looking for another line of work. I mean, you didn't start off as a lawyer, did you, Otto? No, but I was never a pickpocket. Well, anyway, I reckon I can make it. This reminds me of how when I talk to people sometimes, and some people will be like, we've all shoplifted from Walmart, and like, we've stolen stuff from stores. And I look at them like, no. And they're like, well, how did you get stuff as a teen? I'm like, I bought it? And they're like, but you didn't have a job. I'm like, yeah, I didn't have a job, but I would scrounge up as much money as possible. I would help out my grandparents and they'd be like, here's a little treat and give me like $5. I would do laundry for my family and like, I would save up money. And my friends are like, what do you mean? You never stole from Walmart. You never stole from a store. I've never stolen from a store. And they're all like, well, yeah, we've all done it. I'm like,
What the frick? What do you mean you've all done it? No, I haven't. I've done other stuff.
anyways. Well, anyway, I reckon I could make a change. I'm gonna do something for all of them lot like from the slums. Let me try that again. I'm gonna do something for all them lot like me from the slums. Something that makes a difference for them. That's a wonderful idea, Ginny. I'm sure you can do it. What is it? Nothing. Miss Sheena Lestrade? The prison carriage has arrived, ma'am. Come with me to the rear gate at once. Right. Well, looks like I'm off then. Yeah. Goodbye, Gina. And good luck. Odo? Yeah? Thanks. One more? You're gonna hit me one more time? I don't think you can take that with you to... Okay. What was that for? You can't take that to... You can't take that to prison. I don't know. I mean... I don't know what to say, so... Indeed. Perhaps the situation calls for a phrase hitherto missing from your vocabulary, Miss Lestrade. On occasions such as this, I would recommend a simple thank you. Oh. Oh, yes. It's good advice, Ginny. Right. I see. Well... Thanks, Odo. Aww. Thank you for everything what you've done. For believing in me. Not at all. In fact, that should be my line. Thank you, Gina. How many years are they going to hit her with, though? That's the question. Well, there she goes. Wonder if we'll ever see her again. Well, well, quite the indomitable pink purse. Oh, I nearly forgot. I bought a paper outside. It's a special edition. This Charles all over the front page. Pickpocket's innocence proven. Isn't it wonderful? You should have shown it to Gina, Iris. She would have been thrilled. Oh no, how silly of me. But anyway, would you like the good news or the bad news? Not again. Well, what do you say, Runo, Hurley? As usual, I think I'd rather get the bad news out of the way first. Absolutely not. I have no intention to listen to anything but good news. And there you have it. How people answer that question says a lot about them, doesn't it? Let's not go there. Alright then, maybe let's start with the good news this time. The rain has finally stopped. It was record-level rainfall, apparently. Well, that is good news indeed. We can journey back in greater comfort. Alright then, what's the bad news? The huge storm has left the seas very choppy. The channel in particular is awful, so sailings out of the Dover have been delayed by a day or more. Wait, Dover? That's right, if we head to the station immediately. We may still make it in time to wave Susie off. Oh. But there won't be a train, surely. We couldn't be that lucky. Who do you think I am, Mr. Naruto? Mr. Shumps? I rushed to Victoria Station earlier and made arrangements for a special express. If we hurry now, we shall be there in time for dinner. And I know of a fine restaurant that serves the most delicious baked sole. I don't... Great Detective does it again. Indeed he does. I happen to be aware of a number of the rail transport director's foibles. What? I merely made knowledge of them known to the man, and he happily laid on the locomotive. Elementary! Just an idea, but it might be wise to stop manipulating people that way. What are we waiting for then? To London, Victoria. That's a surprise. But a welcome one. But also going to be very sad, actually. to now we have to actually say goodbye. 5 a.m.? Jeez. That took somewhat longer than I anticipated. Susie's boat must be about to leave now. Miss Sato, where are you? There she is. Over there, look! It looks like she's reading something. No, yeah, stop. Mrs. Sato, wait! What are you doing? Mr. Naruhodo, what are you doing here? Well, we came as soon as we could after the trial. I mean, we heard that sailings were being delayed due to the bad weather, you see. Oh, I see. Then tell me, how did Gina's trial go? It went well. She was acquitted. That's wonderful. Really wonderful news. The book you're about to throw into the sea. It was your Encyclopedia of British Law, wasn't it? Oh, dear. I was hoping you hadn't seen that. I'm not worthy of practicing law in any way now. So I was saying my final farewell. You're saying goodbye to law? You, Susato-san? Would I be correct in assuming it's because of the peephole, Miss Susato? I deliberately altered the scene of a crime, and then I tried to hide that fact. What I did is utterly unforgivable. That reminds me. How did you even come to have this, Susie? On the evening of the incident, Mr. Sholmes had invited Gina to dinner, if you remember. Oh yes, we had a wonderful time. Well, Gina gave us a little introductory lesson, didn't she? To the art of pickpocketing, I mean. No, that was so much fun. I stole Runo's armband. Yes, please don't do that again, Iris. That band's very important to me. Well, if it's so important, you should pay more attention to it. You didn't notice for ages. On a whim, I thought it'd be fun to see if I could take the cat flap-o-matic, so I put it up my sleeve. Really? And then I rather forgot about it, until I found myself in Mr. Windybank's shop with it later that night. I see. And then... Bang, Mr. Sholmes. Leave me, Mr. Naruhodo. Right. After Mr. Naruhodo left the shop, I started to think. That door started to play on my mind. Storeroom door, you mean? Yes. If Gina was anywhere in the shop, I realized it could only have been behind that door. And at the moment, the little device that I had up my sleeve sprang to mind. I was so worried about Gina. I simply had to know. So I used the cat flap-o-matic to make the peephole in the door. As captured in a photographic print of the shop by one of Hurley's red-handed recorders. Indeed, it was of the first importance, that point. Precisely when the peephole was made, that information would prove to be Mr. Naruhodo's greatest weapon. Though naturally, without proof, it would have amounted to nothing. But when I looked through the hole in the door, the sight that met my eyes made my blood run cold. Thoughts started to run through my mind. I remembered that trial 2 months earlier, trial of Magnus McGilded. I thought about how he manipulated the evidence and arranged false testimony to secure his freedom. It made the British justice system feel very dark and sinister to me. And then a terrible thought occurred to me. What if some wicked criminal was planning to do the same thing now? Because from the appearance of the crime scene, it looked exactly as though Gina had shot Mr. Windybank, even though I was sure she would never have done such a thing. You were worried that the true culprit would try to frame her for the crime. That's right. But then I realized it would be very difficult for anyone to give false testimony in this case. What do you mean? Well, The crime appeared to have happened behind the door of a locked room. For someone to claim falsely to have witnessed it, there would have had to be a way to see beyond the door. Ah. For which a peephole would be the very thing. Only the peephole I made wasn't actually there until after the crime had been committed, of course. And the criminal would know that, so it wouldn't make any difference. The possibility of a rather ingenious trap was there, was it not? A trap? Is that why she did it? So is that why you kept it a secret, Susie? You never mentioned that you made a peephole to anyone, not even to the police. I know, and I knew at the time what I was doing was wrong. A criminal offense, even. That's why I decided to confide in Mr. Sholmes. If Mr. Naruhodo was completely backed into a corner with no other possible means of escape, the truth about the people could save him. That was my plan. She really does think of everything. But then, why didn't you just tell me everything before the trial began? My dear fellow, you're not thinking straight. If she had done that, it would have rendered you complicit in the whole escapade. You could have been disbarred if you had been seen to have knowingly tampered with a crime scene. So Mr. Sato decided to shoulder the burden of responsibility alone. For your sake and Miss Lestrade's. Mr. Sato. The truth is, when it happened, I did it because I lost a little of my faith in the law. Oh. I was worried that the right person wouldn't be convicted of the crime. But the moment I allowed myself to think that is the moment I lost my right to call myself a judicial assistant. What you did isn't comparable to what he did. Graydon is the one who lied in the witness stand, using that peephole as a way to implicate Gina. And besides, if the peephole inconsistency hadn't existed, I'm not at all sure that she would have been acquitted in the end. Mrs. Sato, what you did saved Gina's life. Well, with your kind words, Mr. Naruhodo, you've saved me too, from my regrets. Well, we must all be thankful that Miss Lestrade's freedom has been assured. Yes, exactly. Although some of the loose ends in that trial will continue to play on my mind, I'm sure. But the revelation that the music box disc contains secret messages, Mr. Naruhodo! What a triumph to work that out. I'm full of admiration. Well, actually, that argument wasn't quite as compelling as I thought it was. Oh, it wasn't. There was a communications officer among the jury members, you see. A telegraph communicator. And she said that the majority of the sounds on the disc were just meaningless tones. As one would expect, after all. We are talking about secret government communications. No doubt they were written in cipher to avoid being readily understood should they have been intercepted. In cipher? I see. So then we could never have hoped to understand the message anyway. Nonsense, my dear fellow. It's quite a zero-pipe problem, I assure you. So? Gi? Asogi? 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 What? Well, that can't be a real word, can it? How funny. Wait, Iris, what did you just say? Oh, I just said asogi. Does that word mean something to you? Mean something? Asogi. Oh right, Kazuma Asogi was the name of my best friend. What? But how? How do you know that name, Iris? I wrote it down during the trial before, when the message was playing on the music box. She transcribed it on the fly? She really is a genius. I thought the message probably wouldn't have been written out in plain Morse code, so I tried various ways to interpret it. But whatever I tried, the words just didn't seem to make any sense. That is, in English at least. Oh. It suddenly occurred to me, you see. There's more than one Morse code, not just the English variety. Various countries around the world have altered and added to Morse code to use it in their own languages. I don't believe it. Are you saying... That's right. I've only actually seen a chart of Japanese Morse code once before, but I think it's based on the Iroha pangram, isn't it? Okay, so that probably has like Japanese players go, oh, of course, the Iroha pangram, and that probably has English players like me going, the frickin' what? I've never heard of that. You mean to say that in Japanese Morse code the message says asogi? Yes, I think so. Sorry, but I don't remember all the Japanese Morse code. Iris, would you let me see that? Miss Sasato, do you know it? Do you know Japanese Morse code? Yes, I spent some time studying it. Because I'm quite sure Morse code will become ever more important for international communications. Then might I recommend, my dear madam, that you focus your efforts on the English version? Be that as it may. Iris, show me the message, please. Of course. But what can this possibly mean? Whatever's in that long sequence of supposedly meaningless dots and dashes. It's made the color drain from Sasato-san's face. There's no doubt that this message is written in Japanese Morse code. So the British Empire has been using Japanese for its secret communications? I don't understand the reason why, but the message appears to be a list of 4 people's names. 4 names? The first is Kei Asogi. Kazuma Asogi. Why was his name on that disc? The second is A. Shin. Shin? I don't recognize that name. The third, T. Guregusun. Gregson. Gregson? Tobias Gregson? Gregson? I'm happy that the game pointed that out. That would seem Tobias Gregson is the 3rd man on the list. What's his name doing in a secret government communication as well? And the last name? What's the matter, Miss Sasato? It's just so strange. So unexpected. Oh, what is it, Susie? Don't keep us in suspense. The last name is J. Wilson. Uh-oh. What? Wilson? John H. Wilson? You mean Daddy? It says only J. Wilson, so I'm afraid I can't be sure. Then after the 4 names, it reads, if I translate from Japanese, that is all 4. And that's the end of the message, or rather the end of what you noted down, Iris. So it was personal for Gregson. I just can't believe it. Who would have ever thought that those discs contain Japanese Morse code? Not to mention a strange list of some disturbingly familiar names. Shin, we haven't heard of Shin yet. It would appear that this particular message is communication of some kind between Great Britain and the Empire of Japan. Why is Gregson being brought up? So Daddy could be in Japan then, where Susie and Runo come from. Oh, well... no. It's not very likely, really, is it? I mean, there are thousands of people with the surname Wilson, and there must be lots of J's among them. Professor John H. Wilson, visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial Yume University. But we can't tell Iris about that now. We just can't. This is so You're gonna have to tell her someday, guys. Oh my god. It's just so strange. Somehow, in solving the case of Mr. Winniebank's murder today, I feel like I've rolled back a boulder at the mouth of a very dark cave. I do wonder if perhaps it's a dark cave that we shouldn't go wandering inside. I mean, I wouldn't call that a honk myself. It's more of a blarg, but okay. Oh dear, the ship's gonna set sail soon. Yes, it seems so. I'll sail on that steamship first to the port of Dunkirk in France, and I'll change onto a larger passenger vessel board for Japan. Of course France goes to Japan. Really gonna go then, Susie? We wish you a safe passage, Mrs. Sato. Thank you so much. I wish all of you the very best. Mrs. Sato, I'd hope to have you always at my side, to guide me and support me. Mr. Naruhodo, please, come back soon. As far as I'm concerned, you really are the very best judicial assistant in the world. Aww. I'm quite sure. I'll be back before you know it. Really, Susie? Oh, now don't forget, Iris. I made you a promise I've yet to fulfill. A promise? About your manuscript. Oh yes, the Hound of the Baskervilles. Well, I'll be waiting for you then, Susie. A promise is a promise. Definitely, Iris. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? Do you remember the first time we met? Yes, of course. On the SS Buria, when I was dragged out from that wardrobe, still half asleep. If I remember rightly, you threw me halfway across the cabin with a Sasato takedown. You know very well I'm talking about after that. It's strange, but being thrown together as we were in that case, I somehow felt straight away that you were the perfect person to continue Kazuma-sama's great legacy. Miss Sasato. And my instincts were right. I really want to believe. No, I'm sure that. I'll be back soon. Farewell until then. Well, she has a DLC costume for the second game, so I know she is.
Somehow we seem to have come to the end of the adventures of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Or the first volume, at least. Looking back now, it feels as though fate has led me on this journey. Fate led me to becoming a lawyer, to traveling halfway around the world, to meeting the great detective. I'm sure there'll be trials and tribulations ahead. Of course there will. But whatever happens, I know I'll be able to turn my fortunes around.
Aw, dude, yo, playing her a song.
After all, I have the greatest friends in the world on my side.
Yeah, it definitely leads you to some. There's more mysteries, definitely, right? If this ended here, I could see people being like, "Oh, well, we still need more," right? But I'm happy that we don't have to worry about that. Ah, yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, Mr. Shums? I have some rather awkward news. The railway company has decided to sue over the Special Express train, apparently. Uh-huh. It caused such a commotion on the line. All the other trains had to wait at the stations. But really, we would never have made it to Dover in time otherwise. Anyway, I explained everything and how it was all your fault. Huh? I believe a formal complaint should be delivered to your office tomorrow. But worry not, my dear fellow, according to Mrs. Sato. You love defending yourself in court. Huh? It's alright, I'm perfectly happy to testify. You really didn't look like that sort of man who'd do something so outrageous. See? Mr. Sholmes? Yes? A word, if you don't mind. Why, certainly. Any word you like. Bellow it out, my dear fellow. Oh yes, I love Runo's words, and I know just the one he'll use here. Then, I really must say...
Objection!
I knew it. That was strong. That's like, for a game one, I think that's a really good one. And it's funny because I remember people really being mad that they felt like, oh, it's a waste of time because it's not the full story. I don't know, even if this only was the end of the story here, I would have been very happy. In the following weeks, hundreds of music boxes arrived at Baker Street from all over Europe. Something was afoot. Though transpired, I'd order them all myself. So I'd advertise them for sale with used by Mr. Sholmes to solve an important case. You and the money I've earned consulting detective work pays a pittance by comparison. You card. That's actually so brilliant. Oh, that's so good. What a scheme. That's a hustle. I haven't slept a wink. This manuscript is due tomorrow. When I'm this busy, Hurley usually cooks me breakfast. Well, cooks is an overstatement for some dry toast and insipid coffee. I do miss Susie and her lovely Japanese breakfasts. You could ask. I'm sure Inosuke can.
A witness, your testimony is riddled with contradictions.
Exactly. Rarely do Koban coins hide under rare stakes themselves. I forget half the voices. Oh my god.
Well, Idanosa knows his father's an innocent man. Are you calling my son a liar?
Witnesses, my courtroom is no place for your petty arguments. I frickin' forgot about the Japanese courthouse. I totally did. Whoa, Hosonaga, remember him? Having delivered the Russian dancer to shore in Shanghai, laid low on the steamship for a while. But last night I apprehended an extremely suspicious Japanese national on board. I've done nothing wrong. All I did was give Wakai's offspring refuge in my pocket. A man brings some kittens on board and suddenly he's a hardened criminal. It's not fair. I was expecting that to be like, you know, special guest appearance by, you know, him. Because he's a real person. Oh, scientific investigation will be the gold standard for policing in the new age. I dream of a world governed by the tenets of order and discipline. Like a great clock, in fact, whose hundreds of parts mesh together in perfect unison. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have but 2 minutes and 37 seconds until my next appointment. Strongheart's gonna be the big bad in the main part of the next game, I feel it. He's like way too wanting to change the world. The latest Rants magazine is out, and I'm in it again. Whenever I say that one line she wrote now, I get a standing ovation. Want to hear it? Not bad, I suppose, for an amateur. Glug, glug, glug. Her ladyship puts me to shame. Okay. So there's more with Gregson going forward. Gregson is... There's something with him.
Been visiting the old girl on a daily basis, of course. Joni, my old jailbird. Must say, battling with those bally stairs every day has done wonders for the Dicky Peg.
The what?
Managing well with the housework, too. Got this maid business taped up, I'd say. Only gossiping neighbors don't realize the man of the house is his own maid.
Mom, can you forget me? Please, don't forget me. I'm gonna be your maid once I'm out of here, darling, please.
My Rolly's back on the beat again. All thanks to the Reaper. There's nothing I forget what voice I hate. What voice did I give him? I'm a better Bobby now, looking out for Londoners that dropped halfpennies on my lovely wife. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rowley. I completely forget what voice he had. Oh my god. That's gone. Like some characters, I get the voice and I'm like, oh, I remember right away. Like it just clicks back in. Oh, frick. No. Oh. Looks like I'm going to be doing time for a bit now. But Iris comes every day for an hour, so it ain't too boring. She's always going on about all them cases what Sholmes is looking into. Criminal investigations are kind of interesting when you get into him. Oh, no, she's going to become a true crime podcaster. That's the worst. I'd rather her be a criminal. I'd rather her be a murderer, honestly. Like, at least murderers understand the value of murder. People who listen to true crime podcasts, they're worse because they don't care. Yes, I renounce my upbringing and chose a life of sophisticated crime, but regrets, please.
Give over, bruv. This ain't the Ash we used to know.
We got time in here to plan the comeback of Milverton and Skulkin's Milk one run, right? The three Muskwozits, milking the neighborhood for all it's worth.
Oh my god, of course they pose together. This is a good credits. I hope the second game does this too, where it just goes with everyone in a Where Are They Now? This past 6 months has been a time I shall remember forevermore. Painful goodbyes and wonderful encounters. I've come to realize that's what life is all about. Naruhodo-san, I promise. Your assistant will return to you one day. But for now, I leave you with many memories and a heartfelt wish. Well, to not let your switch turn off, that life will treat you well. Make sure I touch it every now and then. Oh, is the eye gonna be colored in? Oh, is he gonna color in the eye? Oh no, not yet, I guess. That's a cute picture, though. That's cute. He even has his little schoolboy cap. Aww. Aww. Post-credits stinger. Oh. Or like full credits, because we really didn't have the full credits, right? It's kind of weird to see Ace Attorney characters walking around. This ain't the investigation series. Mark Oda. What did Mark Oda do? Because he does bring like a interesting voice to it. Nigel Pilkington. Hold up. Is that related to Carl? No way. Nigel Pilkington is not related to Carl Pilkington, is he? Okay. I'm just gonna type it related to Carl? There's no way, right? No, it doesn't say that it is. Okay. Yeah, no, okay, it's not. Okay, it's not Carl Pilkington. But okay, Mark Takeshi Ota. German actor. So he's German and Japanese. Interesting. Okay. What has he done? Just looking here. He's only done Ryunosuke in both games, and then he was 4 characters in Live Alive. Interesting. I mean, for the little we hear of him, he has a unique voice. And that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool thing. Like, he has a British accent, but you can tell that he's actually, you know, like, Japanese there. Oh, and hey, he just applied for a BAFTA membership. So that's cool. That's cool. Right? We might hear more of him in the future. Nice. I'm excited for that. I'm very happy, 1, this game came out in English, and 2, that it's, you know, all together. So, I'm looking forward to that. I shouldn't skip credits, but I kind of want to just be done. I hit midnight, right? And I will definitely be turning this into 2 videos, not just 1, because it's too much. It's like 4 hours. It's like 4 hours. Yeah, there's gonna be stuff with Strongheart. It's gonna be, right? It's funny, because it's like, there's not much walking in Ace Attorney. And then here we have walking in the credits, and it's like, it's kind of a janky walk, too, you know? It's not great. Oh, McGilded. I seriously actually thought McGilded would come back. I thought that he didn't die and that he faked his death. I seriously expected that. I really did. Russian dying message. They actually got someone special for that. That's kind of cool. Plus alpha translations. Interesting. Interesting. Quality assurance. And you know what else is actually interesting? This credits is almost like the same as Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter does this where it's the character lineups for height. I wouldn't even be surprised if they made this as like a not only just like a reference to that, but like actually used in testing for, hey, here's all our characters in the heights to see them, you know? But they put it in then as the credits. Wow, he's wearing the Japanese shoes, huh? You don't see half their feet half the time, you know? Cyrus gonna join him? Yes, oh, cute. Is this? That sounds a bit like Turnabout Sisters. Just slightly. Just a little bit. Like, it wasn't going full in, but it sounded inspired by it. Which, Turnabout Sisters is like one of my favorite songs ever for video games. When I first heard the Phoenix Wright versus Professor Layton remix of it, I actually cried. I cried so hard. And I really like that game. Some people don't like that game, but as someone who enjoys both Professor Layton and Ace Attorney, like, that game to me was something very special. And like, yeah, man, I cried when I heard that. Between the circumstances and everything, like, it was so good. Do your poses. Nice. Hey, look at that. They did one more. Great Ace Attorney Adventures Finn. And again, it runs out of time. Well, like I said, we'll probably be taking a break before we continue on. Hey, that's cool. Fleeting Farewell awarded. I completely forgot there's achievements. That's good art too. That's also really good art. I wonder if we missed any. I feel like there's 100% chance we missed some. Right? Let's see here. Special contents. I bet you we absolutely missed some accolades. Okay, completing them. Okay. Oh, I'm not looking at... I shouldn't be looking at the pictures. Oh, there... Okay, no, there's big spoilers here. Don't read these. Don't read these. Okay, don't look at them. Change the outfits. Enjoy various portraits. Oh, yeah, we can take a look at some art. Okay, let's not touch this. Let's just stay the frick away. Escapades. I think escapades they recommend to do after the end, right? Right? I think so. Short episodes. Maybe? I think so. I think you're supposed to do them after. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. I think I'll talk to my friends and ask them when they recommend me do that. But otherwise, that's it. We are done with the great Ace Attorney adventures, right? We did that, and now we'll be moving on to 2 Resolve next time, guys. So I will see you then for that. And yeah, we'll see you then for... Oh, it was 2 years between them. I thought it was just a few months. Oh my god, no way. Anyways, see you next time for some more, guys. Ciao.